Okay, there we go. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining me on my birthday for the live stream. Just going to do a little, the usual thing, go through my little pile of tasks and, ramble about things. Hmm. So, how's everyone doing? January 17th, uh, Benjamin Franklin's birthday, I guess. Let's see where we're at here. Oh, yeah, here we go. I've been rearranging windows, so hopefully everything's sorted. Trying to make room for everything to appear. I already went through this once, but I did a resolution change. All right. Uh, yeah, I'm still the maintainer of Marlin Firmware, so been doing a lot of work on tools to help users and packaging them up into this here plugin, Auto Build Marlin Visual Studio Code. You may be familiar with it if you've built Marlin recently, last few years. Uh, Most recent addition has been this bit to edit the configuration. It's been a lot of fun. It's been challenging to parse everything out and get it to make sense of our defines and the way that we nest them and the way they depend on each other and stuff. So it's been a lot of fun getting back to some of my early web development skills and stuff. Um, Using them in this context is fun. Like now everything's a web app. So I get to use JavaScript and HTML and all that stuff. Yeah, it's really fun. So yeah, right now, um, just going to go and take a look at what my tasks are, and give you a little update on what's going on with the project. Obviously, things have changed a lot with uh, other competition coming along. We've got Clipper, we've got Bamboo Labs, we've got Prusa's got their own thing going on. Everybody's kind of consolidating. Everyone's uh, other companies like in China are using Clipper a lot more and shipping printers with Clipper or boards or board combos with Clipper installed, or even Clipper controllers that you use your existing board and you add on this Clipper controller. Very cool stuff. We're still focused on this niche of the single board. Everything runs on the one board, and that's our focus. And that includes old AVR boards. So anytime we can bring more modern features to those older printers without having to change out the hardware and without having to get any add-ons, we can try and do that. It's a challenge. It's somewhat academic. I mean, figuring this stuff out and trying to optimize. But also, it's just really a matter of we've got this long list of things throughout the entire life cycle of Marlin that have just always needed a little bit of improvement and polish, and we've always needed a more modern motion system that can the kinds of fancy input shaping and things like that everyone needs. So we've been working a lot more on that kind of stuff, and we're pretty close with the latest changes to the motion system called fixed time motion, or FTM. And it's coming along really well. We've gotten a lot of contributions from David Buezas, Argentina. He's been doing a lot of work on optimization and kind of reducing the memory requirements, uh, just sort of making it like smoothed out and giving a really nice motion. And if you give it a try um, in say beta 3 or shortly thereafter, like right now it's sort of, I don't know, we're trying to sort out some issues with the latest changes that were the latest attempts at optimization. But up until fairly recently, I was messing around with it, and kind of the way I'd put it is that the motion feels more servo-like. It's really smooth, and it just feels more modern. I really like it. Uh, so you so you'll be able to take your old, you know, Ender with say a Big Tree Tech board or whatever, or one of their 32-bit boards, and put this on it, and you'll immediately see the difference. And the idea, of course, being going to continue moving forward with it. There's a new calibration tool. I should probably show you that too while we're here. Um, I'll be bopping through my pile of so see if I can't make sense of what's going on. I just did a rebuild of 2126 because there's a little bug in there. Been using 2126. You want to download that. It's probably in 21, might be in beta 3. So I'm not going to re-upload that. But we'll do a new release real soon. I don't know if I'm going to mark it. I guess I want to put one out as soon as we have all the issues in fixed time motion that we know about sorted out, and then once those are sorted and we don't know that there's other problems, we don't know about edge cases or whatever, I'll put that out as, I guess I was planning to do a full release 2.13 without a beta attached to it, but I guess I'll probably do a beta 4, and if beta 4 goes well, then yeah, some minor patches to that, that'll be the release. But the amount of time it's been taking to get changes into fixed time motion, test them, and then go back and reevaluate has been taking quite a while to just like iterate on that, because it's an open source project. We have other things going on. We've got lives. The main contributor just had a new child, so he's a new dad and got a lot going on. So obviously, you know, we're aiming to just continue modernizing this, and then I have my main plan, of course, is at the end of the release, after we get 2.13 out, after this whole beta period is over, I'm going to start on a pretty massive refactor, bringing in STL, which is a part of kind of like a modern, kind of like everything in C++ is made better by having STL. It just gives you more convenient packages for your data and stuff. Not that we have a lot of data, but we have some buffers. We've got circuit buffers, and we've got structures that change depending on how many axes you have and like that. We're not going to be turning it into something like RepRap firmware, just modify everything at runtime, but I do want to bring some more things, make them runtime modifiable, and as much as possible, anything that has been fixed at build time now, and sort of package it up as, yeah, it's fixed if you want it that way, but if you want to make it variable, you can. That'll be cool, because then you do the build and you won't see much difference in logic and stuff, and code itself. It'll look very much the same, but there'll be hooks to edit those things. And of course, there's a whole aspect to how we've done features and sort of ad hoc everything, ad hoc everything, in the sense that every time you add a new feature, you have to sort of like take code and add it to the settings, EEPROM stuff, and do other things in the menus. It would be nice if every feature kind of like describes what's editable, and what the ranges are and all that kind of thing in its settings. And those are just simply picked up by our EEPROM code and our menu code, and they just go, oh, okay, add those settings in appropriately. And we don't have to necessarily go around packaging them up in the specific menus, specific EEPROM items, and so on. And a lot of this stuff has just been on the back burner for a really long time, waiting for 2.13 to be ready. But fixed time motion, well, I've probably heard 1,000 times from me, has still been one of those things that really slowed us down. But I really wanted to make sure it was working before we introduced it, and it's just been getting so many refinements over time, because every time someone looks at it, they go, I see what you're trying to do there, but I bet it could be more modernized. I know a better approach, blah, blah. And, this thing that doesn't smooth right, or the corners aren't quite right, I'm going to tweak it. And so we should have, one of the cool things I think you'll like about it is that it has shaping that doesn't necessarily lose your corner quality. Like, you'll still get pretty corners. There might be a very slight rounding, but it won't be as pronounced as what you see with other types of shapers and some other firmwares. And then the general smoothing algorithm is really nice. We've been looking at things like Clipper to get some guidance on things when we hit weird issues. And so it's been a really good resource. So, aspects of Clipper are going to definitely be forming version of Marlin. Although, of course, we're not trying to copy it in any sense. It's not going to be gaining any of the style of that. So anyway, while we're here, what else have I been working on? Well, yeah, going forward, I want to do more stuff in the kind of like LLM and AI realm, um, not in the ruining people's jobs and stealing their uh, intellectual property and art and stuff sense, but in the sense of taking advantage of what um, LLMs are good at, things like language translation, like that. So I've been playing around a lot with what, just kind of testing at the limits of what the local models can do, and not really paying a lot of attention to things like GPT-5. When I really want to know something definitively and have recent information, see what kind of it out, because it's obviously faster than what you can run locally most of the time, and the quality of the results is higher. Although GPT OSS 20B, if you've been using local models, that's been my favorite. Some people like Quen. I haven't messed with it much, but I'll be doing that more, and I'll do some evaluation from my point of view as a maintainer of an open source project, and a pretty complicated and weird one, in the sense that it has a lot of meta coding and a lot of complicated things that LLMs just don't see very often, and they don't understand as a result. Like, they know Python, they know JavaScript like so much, but if you throw meta coded, meta programming C++ without templates, using a lot of macros and things, it really gets lost. So that was necessary sort of in the initial days of building Marlin. It was meant to be built on Arduino, kind of, not really C++ focused. It was on the C level. So using defines and macros and things like that, and if blocks, and made a lot more sense. Now we can do some tricks with templates and get things to compile conditionally based on those, and get things to be fairly small, um, without having to do a much of the work to like ensure that it is small. It doesn't even see certain code. Sometimes we don't want to see certain code. It's hard to do certain things with templates, as far as like making things variable size and so on, but especially without dynamic allocation. But we're getting there, and we may use more dynamic allocation in some instances where it makes sense and where we can avoid fragmentation. But typically on these small boards, it's risky, so we're trying to avoid it. In other realms, let's see, retro code. Well, you might have noticed my little that I had this open, um, which is using like an old Atari font, um, and if I activate the right environment, I can look at. I think it's here. Am I in the right place? Oh, nope, I'm not. Well, I have this. I'll get it sorted out, but let's see, basic. Uh, hmm, okay. Well, anyway, what I was going to say was I've been messing around with old nostalgic things like Atari Basic, which is what I cut my teeth on back in like 81 through 1987 or thereabouts. I was messing around with the Atari, and then the Amiga came along, and I was like, "Oop, get the Atari." But it was really fun, kind of like working with it at the time, and I did a lot of neat things. I made a disk editor, uh, the app, which you can find on archive.org, called the Tracer, and I made. It's not a finalized version. There was actually a much newer version that I may never find or see again. But someone had a copy of like some version that I had given them or left at the computer club that I was part of, and they managed to email me a copy of it, and I was like, wow, amazing. So it's pretty cool to see. Towards the end of that project, I was actually making my disk editor. I was writing a language, a little scripting language that I was going to include in it for reading a sector, modifying some bytes, writing them back, or moving them around, and just kind of like I was experimenting with that. Then I had added a disassembler to it and an assembler, so you could type in assembly instructions, hit return, and it would put the code into your right into your disk sector. It was really rather a weird way to do things, but I was having a lot of fun, and I was like just adding more and more features, and making it do disk repair and everything else. And at the time, that kind of thing was pretty easy to do because the systems were so small, self-contained, and everything made uh, it was fairly simple compared to what we have now with so many uh, tools and languages, platforms, and everything else. It's just gone crazy. But getting back to the old days, it's kind of fun revisiting that. I took a uh, I took the Atari Basic source code and cleaned it up at one point. Uh, like, where is it? Is the Atari Basic source book is here? Where is it? I know it's around here somewhere. Um, Here it is. So yeah, you can download the Atari Basic source book, and you can also download like a ripped version of this source code from Atari Basic. Go back to the top. Um, where am I? Oops, wrong window. There we go. There we go. So top of this Atari Basic source book. Yeah, so you can download this and you can like read about how they built it and how it works. And it's really kind of fascinating the way that you had to get a language to work and do syntax checking and actually running the code. I'm not going to be building an interpreter, I don't think, but I do plan to do the parser and the tokenizer and have that as a Sublime plugin, and then later I'll do it as a VS Code. But the idea being that you can type Atari Basic code and it'll just syntax check right there and then. Um, right now, if you edit Atari Basic and Sublime, um, I have a plugin to deal with that you can see. Some Atari Basic here, and I got some soft side magazine code, and you can see it's like it's all editable, and it look like just like it used to on the Atari, except now it's like color coded, and it'll do like syntax checking for you here. Like if I type something weird, like it doesn't understand, suddenly oh it doesn't like it. So the syntax checker inside of Sublime does a really good job of verifying, like just making sure that the syntax is correct. Although if you do something like position N1, N2, 1, 2, 3, 4, and keep adding more stuff, it doesn't notice that you got the wrong syntax for the command. It just notices that maybe you typed something that wasn't. Well, maybe it does. I don't know. I did for some of these. I did, so I don't know. It actually is pretty smart. So you can do this, and then if you want to run it, I actually added a build. So if you're like build system Atari Basic, then you just say build, and it'll build it, and then load it up in the emulator, and to wait a little while it reads the listing, which is why I wanted to do the tokenizer, because it would immediately run if I had the tokenizer. It wouldn't have to wait for the listing to be read in, which is much larger. So it's right now it's doing the tokenizer, and then you can play a game. So this is the old Hopper, it was an Atari game, and I don't have my joystick plugged in, but if I did, you could play it. But yeah, pretty neat. So I'm gonna hopefully sort that out, and there's plenty of these kinds of things around, but this is my little contribution. And then I'm gonna muck around more with these old platforms, write a 6502 in my copious free time. So it's been pretty fun so far. I'm having a good time uh, doing this kind of thing. And this is, by the way, is like you notice there's some special characters in here, like inverted, and there's like down here we have all these. This is actually a part of the Unicode. Um, this font includes all these characters, and they're mapped into the Unicode custom area. And when you actually send this to the emulator, it's just translating it from this Unicode back to Atari ASCII or a TASCII, and then it loads that. So it's actually loading an ATASCII converted one. So with my tokenizer, or with my updated tokenizer, it'll actually look directly at the Unicode, or it can look at the either one, ATASCII or Unicode, and it'll recognize, oh, that's this character, and it'll encode it as such when it creates the basic program. So I got a basic start on that, but I've got a long way to go. So it's the BNF is like, I wanted to kind of translate the BNF is a binary note. I forget what it's for. I'll have to look it up. But the basic idea of a BNF is it's all the rules of the language, syntax, and like what is correct, and then so it can do both the tokenizing and verifying that what you've typed in is correct. And it's all explained in this wonderful. I highly recommend reading it if you're interested in doing any kind of language um, tokenizing or uh, interpreted languages or even compilers. This is a really good guide on how it works. Um, and you'll see it's a little on the complex side and technical side, but that's what you want in a technical book. And it tells you what all the variables it uses are and where they're stored, stuff like that. Very cool. And I, there are many 6502 compilers and say assemblers uh, and disassemblers and so on that you can get that are totally worthwhile, and I highly recommend them. Um, and so I'll be mucking with that kind of stuff, and I'll let you know how it goes as it goes along. So I actually, yeah, I did this whole deal where, yeah, I put the Atari Basic source book, and I've been making an annotated version that has more like pseudocode in it, but this is the cleaned up version, and it actually does compile or assemble, uh, and it's all sorted out. I made a nice make file for it that allows you to build revision A, B, C, D, and if you make your own custom version, you just have to create a revision for it and add it to the. But the idea being, you can muck around if you want, change how BASIC works if you feel like it. This actually does compile now. It actually, like, I don't know if the original source did, but it wasn't quite correct. I added some macros to make these statement name table easier to see. I cleaned up this is the actual syntax tables or BNF. This is the actual BNF, and I created some macros for it and then cleaned that up so you can see exactly. You don't even have to, it's just you can read it. It's like, oh, instead of seeing hex numbers, you're like, I understand what's going on here. So it's a nice, it ended up being really nice and readable. And I took this, and my idea was I was going to translate this into code I could run, and it would be like the BNF is all encoded in code now. And instead of calling this BNF rule and then the next rule or whatever, I would just have them be functions. They would call each other, and really fast. It would take advantage of Python's interpreter and being speedy or whatever language I wrote it in, uh, and it would all work great. Of course, I could do this something like put this into a 6502 make a 6502 emulator and run it directly as in 6502 and have it be like super fast. That would be kind of interesting. But what I discovered in the process was like, as you look at the code in assembly, especially this era of assembly, it's like there's not the structure is just all over the place. There's not clean functions necessarily. You can enter at the top of a function, you can enter in the middle of a function. Functions will just in the middle, they'll leave or pop something off the stack and decide to go back 2 levels. So yeah, you can't easily map it directly to like clean function calls and stuff. So kind of like looking at the BNF and going, well, maybe I really do need to write a routine that interprets the BNF rather than trying to translate the BNF into a language and have it run in that language. So I'm trying some different things, and as I go, I'm like, oh, I hit a wall. Now I see why I hit the wall. So I'm trying naively, but as I'm learning as I go, I think translating it into like just taking the interpreter, the token syntaxer as they call it, and translating that part, and then having that part do the BNF. I think that'll work. So I'm making very slow progress. I'm just doing one little bit at a time. Like, okay, I got it to do a line number. Now I got it to recognize the command, and now I know which BNF part of the BNF to call. So I've gotten that far, and now I'm like little by little, like output lots of debugging info. Tell me what's going on. So I do believe I have, and I've occasionally asked LLMs to help me out, but they're not very helpful. So not with this kind of stuff. So very much, it's kind of a cool project. It tickles my nostalgia just right. So it's a lot of fun. And of course, you just recently had the Commodore 64 Ultimate come out, and if you can't see it on my shelf here, but I actually have a boop boop boop. Hold on, grab it for you. There it is. Oh, you haven't maybe seen it before, but yeah, I got a bread bin 64, and it has in it a boop boop. There it is. You can see it's got the look at those ports. What's going on? Yep, it's got the Ultimate 64 in it, which is the same designer that made the Commodore 64 Ultimate. And I haven't updated the firmware recently, so when I do, I'll probably get all the latest goodies that you're seeing on the Commodore 64 Ultimate. I bought this like 3 or 4 years ago, so it's been sort of sitting around waiting for me to really dive in. I just got it to play games and stuff that I hadn't really experienced because I never had a Commodore 64 when I was a kid. I had the Atari. So this has been really fun. So I'm going to, as I write my Atari game, I will also make sure I do a version for the C64. Although I'm going to get spoiled. This is the thing. Like the Atari has like, you've got 4 sprites, or what you should say, 4-player missiles, 4 players and 4 missiles, and those 4 missiles can be combined into a 5th player, or you can do whatever you want with all the bits. And then you can split them up vertically, create like a new sprite out of an old sprite because they cover the whole vertical area, and they're really cool. Sprites are but the 64 allows you to do like multicolor because it has like I think 3 colors plus transparent for each sprite, and then you can combine 2 sprites to get 6 colors. So you can do all kinds of really cool tricks, and it has more sprites. So, and of course, famously, it has the most amazing sound chip of any computer of this era. It's still beloved and rivaled to this day. And I have the original board of this hanging on my wall. I haven't ripped out the SID yet, but the Ultimate 64 and the Commodore 64 Ultimate both provide slots where you can put a SID, your own SID in. And I believe the new Commodore 64 Ultimate gives you 2 slots. So you can have SID, and then you can have some kind of like extra cool SID emulator if you prefer. So yeah, there's a lot of really neat things coming around, especially around the Commodore 64, because it was really the most popular computer of that era. Like outsold the Atari by a huge margin. And but I'm still fond of the Atari because again, I cut my teeth on it, and I was starting to write tools. I was starting to write sprite editors for it, and sound editors and things to really, and character editor, map editor, all that kind of stuff. I was building all the tools I needed to like take it to the next level and make real games. And I started a game. I called it Ixion, and I had no plan exactly, but I had a landscape that you could walk on, and it checked the bottom and made sure you were on top of it. And then I had like little sprites that would chase you and do patterns. And I was trying to write like logic routines, generalized like logic routines built out of data that told them, oh, go this far and then do this, and then if you're this close, change your behavior. And so little state machines basically. And I was having a lot of fun with that. And then you know life did what it did, and I got like to move, and uh, lost a lot of stuff, and at some point I was like, I'm tired of all this computer stuff, and I gave away my Atari to the ether, and all my discs and everything were lost and gone forever. So I'm always hopeful that some of my friends from that time will be like, hey, I have some of your stuff. Maybe you'd be interested in seeing it sometime, and I'll send it to you. So if you're one of my old pals from the Atari era and you have some of my stuff, please send it over. Love to see it. Anyway, you tell them I'm having a fun birthday. I'm just like so thrilled to be here. All there's never been a better era for this kind of technology. Got so many cool things happening in this time. We can run everything in emulation, and then we can get the original hardware or some FPGA version of it, put it on our big TVs, and revisit that era. And there's a lot of new games coming out, and that's what has me that's what has me so inspired. Is like I see all these new games coming, different authors that are making really great stuff. You got like the Briley Witch Chronicles and other games like that. And I'm just like, yes, I want to revisit and do some of this stuff. It's a little more uh, laid back than doing like an open source project where I feel like, oh, I've got to get things out and make a release and uh, deal with user support and um, make sure things are, when they break, I always feel responsible and guilty. It's just terrible. Games are, when you're doing your own thing and you're not like beholden to anyone else, you only have your own self to like judge things. I'm a pretty harsh judge, so it's not like I'll slack. Whatever, it'll be a lot of fun. So yeah, this is the this is the Atari Basic thing. Where did I put it? Did I call it Atari Basic? I guess I did. Let's see. Atari Basic. Doop, doop. I haven't run this in this term. Doesn't matter. Come back to it eventually. But yeah. So anyway, I was just gonna catch up on some of my tasks while we all hang out, and see what's going on. Oh, I had to close that chat window. That back up. And editor and get back to Marlin, my current job. So I've been at this now since I guess 2015 was when I officially took charge of the project and became the maintainer and actually decided, okay, I'll own this thing. But even since then, it's like it's been a lot of time. Like I never feel like I'm the owner. I'm always like, it's yours. It's yours. It's like other people who created the basis of it, and I'm just kind of like cleaning it up, polishing it, and um, being a general caretaker of it. But going forward, I gotta take even more ownership and really dive in. Even though in a way it's like obsolete. It's not. It's definitely not. There's a whole future in which it's not obsolete, and there's a lot of hardware that this supports, which none of the other firmwares do. A lot of your controllers and displays and such aren't fully supported by Clipper or by RepRap firmware, and they have their. This is, I guess, going to be somewhat of a more specialized thing. This will be like the when you need something really to run on a single board and you don't want to like use the energy to like run a second computer that has a higher clock rate or whatever. This will be filling that niche. It'll be fulfilling a niche where um, I don't know, more for hobbyists, I think, and more for hackers and I guess rep rappers, effectively. Sort of like just the rep rap spirit never died, so we're going to be continuing to focus on that. So there was one timer issue that I'm looking at now. That was the most recent thing I got a report about. Let's take a look at what's going on with that. I got a report that the timer width might not be right for some of our platforms. Might be having like an overflow or underflow, and I really wanted to like test these and get a sense of which ones were good and which ones weren't. What I really needed to do was look at the. I'll show you what I mean. Was yeah, L timer type max. So apparently, when I defined it this way with the type attached, um, it it made some things mad. Some of the code didn't like this because where this is used outside of timer.h, it's did I do that right? Timers. Okay, there we go. Yeah, so outside of that, it's only used a few times, not used a lot. So one of these is suspect, and I really wasn't sure why. In the case of something like this, it was like okay, we're using HAL timer type to get the minimum value here, and it could do something like, raise this to a larger type, but I didn't want to necessarily do that. And so the problem is that min wants this and this to have the same type. So either I wrap this and that, or neither, and then do some kind of funky, let it figure out what the type is. The trouble is when you have something like this, timer rate divided by prescale, blah, blah, how many bits is that going to take up? I don't really know. All I know is that typically this will be an unsigned long, something like that, and this will be an unsigned long, and depending how it's defined. But typically when you define something bare like this, uh, you know, it's just a number. Sometimes it's an unsigned long, UL. Sometimes we don't put a type on it. It's just no, nothing. So, but bare numbers are typically just cast to type that makes the most sense using it. And sometimes it's this, cycles per microsecond divided by ticks per microsecond. So, yeah, interesting stuff going on with this whole thing. So, yeah, that's one I have to sort out, but maybe I'll do some of the easier ones while I'm here first. Oops. And I'm also currently using a version of GitHub Desktop. Oh, and also I got to fix that real quick. This is called the Reinit Lazy LCD. Clarify warning. And that would be, I'll make a little, use a little wrench for that. Or no, or a wrench. Call it configuration. So make a note of that. That yet. And might as well grab the latest upstream first. Going to have a date change on it. And okay. So before I submit that, I want to just make sure I know which LCDs need this warning and don't. But in essence, like the idea with this was that tools integration open with Lime. So yeah, the idea with this is if you're using an SD card and it has SD detect and certain LCDs other than these, you might need to enable this option because some noise. And so usually it's when there's a shared SPI between the display and the SPI card. So this, when it's shared, sometimes there's a little bit of leakage and the display acts weird. And so this is just set it whenever you go back to the screen or after you insert or remove an SD card. And it was just one of those mitigations that we needed to add at a certain point because things aren't electrically perfect. So, yeah, so I would just move the warning out here so that it would be more clear when you needed it and when you didn't, and also to gather more data. I want to get a few reports about this. Let me know what's going on. So I did get one somewhere here. I think it's here. It was from userp.pom. From most recent one. There it is. Thank you, PPalm. So we have this thing here, which is, let's see, this is a public channel, folks. stop on by Marlin Firmware Discord sometime if you want. Looks like this. Oh, and so yeah, this is the one. When I build my firmware, I get this warning, and then I just wanted to check which display. Oh, didn't get an answer yet, so we'll get an answer for that soon. But in the meantime, I'll just do a quick test of something. So in Marlin, we can test things pretty quickly with MF test. Get this list of all the tests that we have that are normally run under GitHub CI, continuous integration testing, and you pick the one you want. I'm going to go with, I don't know, something random. How about RE Creality or RE? Let's go with 65. And I don't know, Ender 3 V2. Okay, this is the Ender 3 V2 display. And let's see what it gives us as far as warnings go. Yes, build. The MF test downloads the configs or modifies the configs as needed, does the build. It's pretty handy if you ever need to do a build of Marlin for your own purposes. Or you can just do, if you just want to, you happen to be in the terminal and you don't want to use, say, auto build Marlin to do the build as you would normally, you can just go in the terminal and say mf test-a. It'll give you a list of the environments that you could build it with, and pick the one you want. So, or hit enter and it cancels. So yeah, it did a build and I didn't see any more. Oh, there it is. Re-init noisy LCD is probably not required, but it is enabled because it's enabled by default. So I can do this. I can say, oh, no need. I can unbind it. But yeah, it's just one of those things. It's like, it's only a warning, and it's not an important one. You can choose to enable it or not. But it's generally, if it's enabled, you should, skip it. So what I would typically do is go through all the configs, all 350 or whatever configs, and do some kind of like turn off the option everywhere, and then this would come up and tell everyone to enable it. Or I'd do something like do all the builds, see which ones are out because of this, and then go through and yeah. So it's a lot of work, but so having a warning there is just really we'll build on this depending on which things need it and which don't. But in general, like it's also undefined, removed. Like it's the reinit is undefined with an undef. If there is no SD card, it just skips that. So it will just assume that you didn't want it if there was no SD card. So in the meantime, yeah, a little warning, and I'm just clarifying it here, whether it should recommend it or not. But I believe that it's exactly the same as it was. But if I do disable it, we should see that it doesn't complain anymore. I think the main problem was like sometimes you would have it enabled and it would say, oh, you don't need that. And then you would disable it and it would say, maybe you do need that. So clearly my warnings weren't good. But this one will be a little clearer. I guess I'll just send that up. I was going to mention I'm also using the development version of GitHub Desktop. Dev version because this has this unfortunate problem where if you put a link in one of your let's go to configurations. If I put a link in for where the issue originated, I don't know if you can see this, but zoom it up. But you can see this is the way the link should look. It should take you to that place. But if you use GitHub Desktop without my patch I needed, it just shows that this has a link, number 28277, and it tries to go to configuration, and that's not where it is. It's in Marlin, not configurations. So this is just so I could have my links work. But using the development version of GitHub Desktop is pretty straightforward. you follow the instructions. You have to use yarn and stuff to run it. But and then when you do run it, it's like always keeps this bloody console thing open. I don't know. Maybe there's a way I can turn it off, but yeah, I'll have to check that. Show pop-up, show banner. Yeah, so as you can see, it's got special features that the release version doesn't have, and my patch isn't one of them yet. The reason they haven't accepted my patch is because I've been stingy about doing it the right way. Because the right way, just they don't really provide a good right way. There just isn't. The functions that they provide just aren't right. They're not the ones I need. So whatever, they're not going to accept it because I'm not doing it the right way. But the right way sucks. So so be it. I'll just use my dev version, and that'll be that. Maybe they'll never accept it. I don't know. But that's one of the things I do if I'm like working with a tool, like whatever, it doesn't matter. GitHub Desktop, sure. If it's got a bug or it's got some feature I don't like, I'll tweak it. Why not? That's what open source coders do. We're kind of crazy that way. So let's grab back to Marlin here, and I will just upload my change. Oh, I guess I should rebuild with my change. Just make sure it doesn't give warning again. So was it N65? T1. Oh, I forget. T1 T65-N1 I. So that'll give us the same. There you go. And now I'll opt disable and rebuild it again. MF test. And we should see hopefully no warning about this time. Yep, no warning this time. Good. Okay. Yeah, it should be mutually exclusive, so at least I got that much. So people won't see really inconsistent behavior. There you go. That's clarified. All right, next. Water. Yeah, so turning 59 is fun. Been trying to get my BMI down to where it's supposed to be. I actually pulled out a digital scale, checked it out. I'm like, oh, it says I'm 20 pounds over or more. Say 25. We'll say somewhere in the middle. It's supposed to be like in the 130 to 140 something, 160. So maybe it's all this muscle mass I have. Just makes me heavier. But yeah, my legs are not exactly muscular from all this code sitting. I try to bike occasionally, but don't do it every day. So yeah, I'm looking to do more exercise, exhale more CO2 than I take in, and burn some of this off. And so far, so good. I've discovered the joy of green tea. Wonderful stuff. Keeps the appetite down. Not as harsh as, I mean, it's probably got more caffeine than regular tea, I guess, but it's also like, say, black tea. But yeah, good stuff. Keep me happy, healthy, and active. Let's see if we got anything in the chat yet. It's been meaning to bring this up. Come on, chat, work. Oh, are you broken? Oh, there we go. Close. There we go. Oh, hi everyone. Mike Stewart, good to see you. Tom Taylor, Daniel Kruger, Yao Chuolu. Hope I got that right. Kirk Carlson, Sublime text, a boatload, and not an LLM in sight. Yeah, there is an LLM hidden in there. I've got the what's it called LFP, LSP. Yeah, yeah. I've got the LSP turned on for different things, and LSP Copilot, and I'm always turning it off because it just gets in the way. always like its suggestions. So yeah, there's that. Thank you for all the birthday wishes. Bacon Fixation, SKL 7311, and again, Daniel Kruger. Good to see you. Marlin's funding. Yeah, I'm glad you asked. It's from Discord. Yeah, it's right now. It's on the edge. We lost proof of research. They're focused on distancing themselves a bit from the open source stuff, and so and really it was mostly it was a lovely gestural charity from them and from Joe, and I appreciate it a lot. And it kept us afloat for a long time. Now it's down to our biggest donors right now, I believe, are Reality, Big Tree Tech, and Lulzbot. Not necessarily in that order, but Big Tree Tech has been an amazing supporter. They sent us masks during the pandemic. They've always provided hardware when we needed it. I did have to go out and buy my own 2240s twice because I burned them up once on on the SKR2 board, which revision B was supposed to not do that, but it did. So I burned them up immediately. I didn't even get a chance. So got an SKR3 donated from Keith Bennett, which is awesome. Thank you, Keith. And I've got that here, and that won't burn up the 2240s, but I'm only going to test one at a time this time. I'm not going to burn all 4 or 5 or whatever I did it last time all at once. No. Yeah, I was really sad about that. Oh yeah, the Marlin emulator. Yeah, there's hopefully I'll get more work done on that. Chris Pepper has been showing stuff off for the last year and a half or something where it looks really cool. It's got it's got an extra nifty printer visualization. And I'm like really champing at the bit, or chomping at the bit if you prefer, to see that added into the thing. There's but yeah, it's really cool. The one thing you added recently was some analysis of signals, like so we can look at the motions closely. That's really cool. So more of that is awesome. Hopefully, I can jump in and figure out some things to add to that will be helpful, especially for fixed time motion, where we really want to make sure everything is. We don't have weird edge cases. So speaking of that, let's take a quick peek at any issues related to fixed time motion that need attention. So right now I have 103 pull requests open. And so obviously the project has still got interest and is still relevant. So let's not have any illusions. We're still going. Oop. And of course, GitHub Desktop encountered an error, so I have to rerun it. It's not perfect yet. Let's see. Where's the terminal I had open for that? Is it over here? Oh, there it is. I have to say yarn start. That'll start it. Give me a second here. Where are you, GitHub? Takes a minute to open. There we go. All right. We're back. So, where were I? All right. So yeah, it's still got interest. It's still moving. We've got a lot to do. I'm going to watch out for those. So let's pick one of the features we like. How about C32? Oh, there's the resonance generator. So yeah, there is a resonance generator and there is a resonance tool. I should show that too on here. I posted a little preview of it on X or somewhere. Probably on all the socials, Blue Sky, Fostodon or Mastodon, and X. Thinking of abandoning soon. It's really depressing there. All I do is go to X and end up blocking everyone that interacts with me because they're all mean and weird. Not you guys, of course. All the techie people are awesome. It's the weird folks who are in the social. We're into this social experiment thing. So let's see, where is it? Should have added it here. Oh, there it is. Okay, so check it out. This is by David Wezes, who's been the main contributor, cranking on fixed time motion recently. So this is if you have a USB resonance tester, which I do, I got one of the Fly ones. So I'll show you the box. Got, where's the box? I know it's here somewhere. One of these here. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, get out. Little thingy. It's got two screws, and there's actually mounting on my BQ-BX4, something exactly this size. There's two spots you can put it. So I screwed it on there, but I'm going to actually make a mount, have it properly mounted. I was very careful because I'm like, it's pressing down on the chip on the back of the board between the two screws, which gives it a good mounting surface. But if I were to tighten it too much, it would probably break the board, ruin the traces or something. So I'm being really careful with it. But all you do is you connect the USB cable to it, you connect it to your PC, and you open up this web page at dibuezas github.io USB input shaper calibrator. And this is it. So here's a simulation. Boop. Check it out. It's doing like a simulation of a resonance spectrum. And as it does so, it's giving you a waterfall spectrogram, the whole deal. And it's doing a sweep of 20 seconds, so almost done. And there you go. And you can see there's the spectrogram, and it'll tell you, oh, expected 3200 hertz, peak 55 hertz, so on. And so you might set your input shaper to get rid of this 55 hertz peak or whatever. But anyway, you can see there's an optimize shaper section, and you can do some analysis. What kind of cornering are you using? Jerk or SCV or junction deviation? As yet about that. But what is your jerk? What is your score mode, clipper like or variation? And there's different values associated with each one. You can see a max accel or delay centroid, which I assume is the middle value of something. And you can full auto tune all shapers using all these shapers. Get auto tuned, and it'll like go through them all. So yeah, you can decide this is my ZV shaper, and figure out the frequency that you've got going on in there. And yeah, pretty cool. And this will saves you having to print a whole tower. And there is a resonance sweep command in Marlin now that is associated with being put together by Narno2202, whose real name I forget at the moment. Sorry, Narno. But yeah, he's doing great work too. These are some awesome contributors. But yeah, each thing is taking a little time to test. So sorry for that. Well, Mastodon sent me a notification that I'm popular. Cool, thanks, Mastodon. Meanwhile, okay, so coming back to this, this is the feed hold. Let's take a look at what this is about. Learn something. Soft feed hold using real-time reporting command or freeze pin. This would be associated with fixed time motion, but it's just related to that kind of stuff. So first thing I got to do is deal with my pet peeve and fix common misspellings. Loosing steps. All right, all better. So yeah, this is cool. This is going to be called, let's see, soft feed hold. This PR corrects and unifies the logic, ramp acceleration, and CNC style real-time spindle override to real-time reporting command, E, O, and R, O. requires freeze pin or not. You have less risk of losing steps, less risk of damage to heavier machines. Cool. Yeah, that's an important thing. So I think the idea here is that instead of freezing right away, like hard stop where you could actually have a layer shift or lose position, I believe this is meant to slow it down and on the stop and have it be a little more gentle. But I'll take a look real quick. Let's call this, not sure what to call this exactly. This in terms of where it belongs in categories. But let's take a look. So it's adding a freeze pin. Oh, and what's going on to me? Here's the new variable, real-time ramping pause flag. Okay, obviously false at startup. And here we have, yeah, typically I think with something like this, well, it may want these all to be do this. Cleanup ritual here. Clean up and review at the same time. So I would say, oh, I see what's going on. Okay. Well, it's got one thing or the other. My thought is, sure, but let's do it this way. Just give it a little space. Oh, yeah. Okay. Good to me. Moving on. Next in the pile. So this has been this again, as I go through, supposed to be, reflect. So what a life it's been. Hey everyone, thanks for the birthday wishes. Hey Keith. Grogin, good to see you. Mitch, what's up? Always good to see Mitch. We need more portable backpack Delta bots, External bool. Yep. Okay. Extern bool. Fine. Might make that a member variable or something later. But yeah, in terms of this is one of the most interesting and long standing projects I've ever worked on for sure. Definitely, we definitely use more confidence. I'm basically hemorrhaging cash to the tune of about 300 or 400 a month, which with my current savings means that if things stay steady as they are, I'll have to get a real job in about 8, 9 months, something like that. I don't know. Well, let's say depends on how things go, but uh, and that will take me away from time I can spend on this project. I'm thinking of doing something like working at a pizza joint, something that's respectable work. But I would also consider getting a tech job, a programming job too. Yes, even though I really don't like them. There's always too many expectations I can never meet. Freeze, stole kill pin warning. Okay. This is a little tricky because you want users to know what they're doing, but if they've got a kill pin, I don't know. I mean, if you give them a warning, that's good, but I'm also a little concerned that you can't have both. I guess that's fine. Pin exists, kill. Oh, looks like it was already there. Okay, so someone else's fault, probably mine. Yeah, this has been fun, and now it's actually more fun than it has been in a long time. Because for a while we were just always keeping up with the latest fork from Creality or whatever, and having to spent an awful lot of time like taking the forks that were made to never be merged upstream and try to like clean them up to make them mergeable upstream. But then it's like the not necessarily super important, uh, except if you really want to have the latest firmware on your Ender 3 or whatever, it'd be nice. So we do our best to like, make a version, the config for that for your Ender 3 and maybe upgrade board. But we can't always bring over everything already stuck in there because they do a lot of weird hooks and stuff and scattered around. And that's in part because we didn't really expand some of our APIs to make it easier to do some of that stuff. We don't have an event model or a broadcast listener kind of setup in there for like announce an event and then everything that cares about it can respond to it. We just have like hooks that have been added in for a particular display or whatever, the controller. It's been very, again, ad hoc. Been really wanting to move forward and make better, but it's like all that playing catch up, really slowing down the architectural reforms that I want to make. And of course, fixed time motion has been 3 years in the making, so that's a bit astounding. How long it's taken to really get it together. The original contribution was just not ready at all, and it was a lot. My part of the rewrite was I'll take it literally as it is, and I'll just try to like expand it, extend it to all the other axes that we had, because I needed to do that much at least. And soft feed hold, okay. All right. Okay. Let's look at how that's described. Oof. I hate when we have so many changes to the configuration. Mm-hmm. And where do we stick it? Way down here. Just checking. Like if you had real-time reporting commands, but you didn't have freeze feature, then you wouldn't need this, right? So, assuming, make sense of it. Help me make sense of it. Oh, I see. Real-time reporting also adds. Um, mm-hmm. Oh, we got to always got to do this whenever we get a contribution because a lot of people don't turn on the feature in their editor that shows them extra spaces stuff. This is pretty common with editors like Vim and stuff where fairly old school, classic. All right, so this is a little on the wide side here. Um, Man P0 or freeze pin. Yeah, okay. Initiates us. You really have to intersperse all this stuff. It's very disconcerting. I think we know where P000 comes from. It's mentioned up here. I don't know. Find it a little inelegant. Breaking my ability to read this. Command P0 or freeze pin. Right. Keeps power available, does not stop. Okay. Controls laser PWM does not. Not pause spindle, fans, heaters, or other devices. And does not stop the spin. Mm-hmm. All right. Guess that also counts for laser and spindle. Anyway, moving on. See what else there is to review. Right. That seems a little on the long side to me. Yeah. Initiated by the freeze pin, halts instantly. Freeze jerk. Okay. Okay. Just for my own benefit. That looks a little off. And okay. Good. All right. Reviewing. So yeah, this is much of how I spend my days. Checking these things for typos, stuff like that, and so on. You can kind of see why I'm really champing at the bit to get some project where I get to do more coding. Functionality, yeah, we assume it's functionality. Let's move on. Let's see. Yep, okay. Next. Motion can be resumed by using the freeze pin, pressing the button attached to the freeze pin. Not sure what you mean by that. Conjunctions. I like to put my conjunctions at the end. Flows better. All right, that's good. I am tedious, I know. Let's see. Okay, moving on. Completely halt. Okay, good. Enabled and disabled. And disabled no freeze pin. Interesting. Interesting one. Like it's freeze, but with no freeze pin. Because it's what? It's using the kill pin? It gets a little tricky because like if you're removing the kill pin, but then keeping a freeze pin, the problem is you can't say define freeze pin, kill pin, and then undef kill pin because then there's no freeze pin either. It one of those funny things about this language, this meta language we're using. So yeah. So later on, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna do some baking, I guess, make muffins. All right, freeze phase. Okay. If enabled, soft. Do this too. I'll just embed this in here. Makes it a little clearer that they're gone. So there will be a frozen state, and I just like, oh, these could be it. Yeah, there we go. Next, neat. Frozen flags, yep. Oh, well, typically we'd just make this into a struct with bit fields rather than making an enum for it and then using test all over the place. We can, more C++ like to use bit fields, or even C like. This is the modern world. So if we wanted to, we could say instead, where's frozen state equals good. Is that what it's about? It's frozen flags, but I guess it isn't. Because if it were, it would have the flag set. Like frozen triggered, I assume, is like something like, nope, it's 0. Okay, that's interesting. Is that right? Is that first one's 0, right? I have that right. Um, what's going on here? Set frozen triggered. Okay. Yeah, so this is why it's better to just use bit fields. It's much simpler. You don't have to worry about all this testing, being unsure. You just have a bit field. So if you had a frozen state, if that's what it is, being tested, yeah. Let's see where it's defined. Frozen state. So here we would say instead soft feed hold. That's the enum up here. That's this. So we would create a type, say struct frozen state, or just this. Cool. With 1 bit and solid 1 bit. And that's that. And you would call it type def. Boop. And we'd call it frozen state type, right? So then anytime you saw frozen triggered, you would say constable state. Okay, yeah. Frozen state got, we still haven't redefined it yet, but we will. Triggered equals state. Boom, done. Right, it's a little neater in that sense, easier to see. And then is frozen triggered, return frozen state dot triggered. And static frozen state type. Frozen state. Voila. And then this one, that frozen flag. Frozen state. I'll have to do this. So these are all explicit. I'm passing a variable. There you go. I think that does it. And then do I have to call this anymore? Not really. Right, not bad. Did it define twice in here? No. Checking. Or was it? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So yeah, this will be nice to be able to freeze without damaging your machine. Well, that's cool. It's all right. It's all right, Daniel. You know, the folks who should really be contributing to the Patreon or to GitHub sponsors are those who mostly benefit from the project, or just have a vested interest in seeing this thing continue into the future, because electronics are going to be getting faster, and you won't need two chips to probably run Clipper either. But in general, like as they get faster, like being able to have everything on a single board with a single MCU, I'm just thinking in terms of like saves so much energy to only have one chip instead of two, and a tethered computer or whatever else you have to have. And it just simplifies things, fewer failure points. There's some definite advantages. I mean, Clipper is great for what it is, and it does some great things. And you're a Python uh, coder, or even if you're not, it just because it does so much in Python at the high level, it makes it a lot easier to make mods and add things to it and add plugins and so on. But what I hope to do, and I've been planning on this for a while, but I haven't gotten around to it, is just do a lot more tight integration with Octoprint, including an updater, like migration tool, something to build and upload Marlin, all built in. They already have an uploader, but it's it could definitely be better. Uh, like being able to actually build from source or download the latest version and have it automatically upgrade your old settings to big. And that's the main. A lot of work, and it does. The preliminary part was all the stuff I had to do in auto build Marlin for um, actually parsing these bloody configs and putting them into some kind of structure so that I can later say, okay, these are the things definitely enabled in this config based on all the other stuff. But it was like, some of that depends on things that are inside of conditionals files and elsewhere. And so I have to make sure to pull all those in. And then for migration, you actually have to include some of that stuff in the package. So auto build Marlin will have a folder with like all the older configs or aspects of the older configs, plus the files that, like the conditional files that fit between the configs, will have to be there. So you can see an older config, match it up with the conditionals that pertain to that config for that particular version of Marlin, actually interpret it um, without any kind of compilation. So that's the nice part, is I don't have to compile it. I just look at the files. I go, okay, these all fit together, and then I can take that information, and then I know which items are enabled. And then what I do is change their names if they've changed since that version, change their values if they've been modified, whatever else has to be done. Um, Modify, anything that's been modified, and I have a whole spreadsheet full of all the different things. And so for each version, I'll make those changes to the data. Then finally, it'll take the latest, it'll have the most recent configs in it, and it'll just like patch that with the options that you had in your old config, modified, and boom, config, save that. So that's the basic idea. But yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot of work to get that together. So focused on the motion testing stuff that I just haven't had time. But definitely will. Is is really close. It is really close. So let me finish cleaning this up. But before I do, I'll swap out my microphone. This is probably running out of power. Got an extra. Hold on. Swapping, swapping. Check one, two. Oh, there we are. Hello. Hope I didn't hurt your ears. Okay, we're good. Brent was up on my tea, so I'm back. There we go. Now I'm going to notice the urgency in my voice. Let's see where we're at. So yeah, some of the cool stuff I've been seeing, people have like resurrecting their old cupcake MakerBot cupcakes and stuff. That's been really fun to see. Um, and freeze phase. Let's see if freeze phase, where we're at with that. Freeze phase. There's only one phase at a time, so that's okay if that's an enum. See, I like enums when they're about values that has to be this one, this one, this one, or this one. Not so much for bit fields. Sometimes those can be useful if you need both a counter and a bit field, and maybe they're mutually exclusive. But if you only need a bit field, you might as well just make the thing into uh, a struct with bit fields instead. So where are we at? Let's see. Frozen. There we go. So that's okay. So freeze phase type. So we could put the word phase here, I guess. Why not, right? What a phase. Freeze phase phase. So yeah, if it's stationary, see if we understand what's going on. Is frozen triggered? Let's find out where that is. Return frozen state triggered. I think we don't need the accessor. Is frozen solid, same deal. And there we are. And if greater than interval, subtract the interval. Cool. Frozen time equals 0. Set frozen solids false. So yeah, I think we can do this too. Oh, okay, this is all right. State equals it's already set, then return. Otherwise, so yeah, so this has more stuff going on than just setters, so that's fine. Okay, let's take a look at that. Okay, soft feed hold. We don't really need it. Not that big. A block. Let's put those on the ends of very long blocks, but don't really need it there. Okay, how much time passed since frozen state was triggered? Uh, frozen time is based on when does it get set? Based on step rate, I see. Okay, I assume we're not modifying step rate. Oh, I guess we are. Okay. Okay, cool. Check frozen state. Gotcha. All right. Mm-hmm. So that's interesting. Sometimes I like to say BV24 if it's about being bit value, that particular bit, but it's more about this being 1 to the 2 to the 24th than it is about that. So fine as it is. Um, okay. Interesting stuff. And I'm just going to do that even though I know everyone wants their curly braces to be there just in case later. Just in case they're needed later. Uh, but sometimes I don't care. Like that's probably not going to. Okay, so looking pretty good. Okay. And yeah, there it is. All right. Anything else I want to do? Let's take a look at the code one more time in the browser. Yeah, so that in terms of the future and why Big Tree Tech feels that they want to preserve Marlin and keep it going, I can see that they're very forward thinking. I think they know that things are, constantly in shift and flux, and like if this wasn't continually being improved and um, advanced, it would just be this stuck thing, I mean, it might move forward, but it just wouldn't move forward at the rate that it deserves to. And the advancements we've been making have been, really important for the future of the project and for the improvement in quality that it brings. The whole thing. Let's see, is that yeah. I don't need this. Just save a save a byte here, save a byte there. One less byte to download later. Okay. Interesting. Last laser power. Interesting. So it repowers the laser. Interesting. Okay. Yeah, sometimes I would want to wrap this kind of stuff in a struct just to isolate it in a namespace of its own. But fine. Frozen laser, last laser power. Okay. I don't know. I mean, overall, it looks very nice. I think the feature is good, but it is definitely it's got more going on. Soft feed hold. Um, what people call feed. Yeah, I know if you're like a CNC person or whatever, like feed is a thing. I just never liked that term much. Okay, step rate, step rate. And we don't really care about that pile of code because it's from a library. Okay, so here you go. Initial cleanup review. Boop, off you go. Off you go now. There. Does it look better to me? Sure it does. Real-time ramping pause flag. Part of soft feed hold. I'll make sure this isn't something I can add as another flag. The structure I had before. I don't think that's related to soft feed hold though. Oh, it's an emergency parser thing. That's why. But it could be something else. I don't know. But yeah, this is what happens is read freeze pin equals freeze state. I think we had oh, okay, yeah. We don't want to just read this, we want to read this. But okay, I'm tempted to say, let's see. Well, that's kind of interesting. If both are enabled, then you get, okay, well, let's do this. And we'll just say And I just wanted to have that because it's one less thing we have to repeat. And sure. Okay. Buttons, buttons, buttons. There we go. Boom. Okay. I think that's enough. Why am I force pushing? Cancel the continuous integration tests so they don't waste time running tests that aren't going to matter. That's why. Keep thinking about those electrons, and for some reason I want to save GitHub money. Oh, what's this? Warnings. Supposed to have the source verification should check that, but let's see what else we have. Clock acceleration. No need to waste time calculating linear acceleration rate until the freeze pin is triggered. Okay, you say so. I trust your judgment on that one. So here we end on. I see. Mm-hmm. Okay. Frozen state equals 0. Let's make sure frozen state equals 0. Triggered. You just say not frozen state is fine. I don't know. I don't know if you can do that. I have to say, would have to create like a union and then combine them. Like, see what I mean? So here we have that. So I'd have to actually do. So something like that. There you go. That way it's not doing something like checking one bit and then checking the other bit, or anding with 3 and checking to make sure that equals 0. I just make sure that the whole thing is 0, which should be theoretically smaller, quicker code. Why we're doing that. And finally, if triggered and it's solid. There you go. That would be in a case where it says if this and 3 equals 3, then return that. And this is happening where? Inside of the ISR. So we're adding a little overhead to the ISR for this. For everything. And then we have what's the frozen state? Fill stack? Gotta fix that. Here we go. Okay, good. And then we're back to the big. Okay, fix the last little bits up. Just hope that the author is sleeping. Won't be annoyed by my force pushing. There we go. Rogin, what's up? Oh, you like the INI file? I see. Yeah, yeah. I'm doing a rebuild on my Prusa i3, and I kind of stalled because I have to build I have to design a nice carriage to hold the the E3 V5. I think it's a V5, might be a V6, and it also has to hold a BL Touch probe. And what else? Yeah, just those basically. So yeah, I just have to make a nice mount for that. But and I wanted it to screw onto the existing mount, but I'm thinking just make a single piece. I'm gonna do it in PTG, but I don't want to iterate too much on it. So once I have that ready, the next step is really just to tune it and test it because everything else seems to be working well. The sensorless homing and everything. It's got the lightest of all beds. I mean, it's original. It's the original Graber frame Prusa i3, so it's really it's kind of cool. I like having the old school machine. Um, and I originally started it because I was like getting all these. I was just inspired to do stuff with because it was my first machine. It was like takes me back. Um, all right. So meanwhile, it looks like something changed where I need to do a merge as well. Let's do that part. It's always fun. Let's see where bug fix is at. So if I merge it or not. Okay, yeah. Yeah. Git merge bug fix. Boom. All right. Okay. That's a good merge. Boom. Yeah, that's looking. Might not have finished merging yet. Did it? There we go. Okay, good. And if this is running tests, I'll just cancel them. Commit. Usually there's a little green marker or yellow marker next to it if it's running tests. But I can click on to cancel those tests if I want. But it's not there. Well, starts them, I'll cancel them. So, okay, looking pretty good. I think that's pretty much ready to go. We'll just call this, call it a bug fix, call it a improvement as well, because it does improve the thing. And it also includes new feature as well. Yeah. So typically what I would do next is bring all the changes over from the config into the import configs and then propagate that to all the example configs, all those changes to example configs. It'd be fun. But anyway, pretty soon I'll give you a little demo of this ADXL resonance analyzer in actual action. I need to reflash my BQ with the new resonance test and the latest fixed time motion code and look at any patches that might be needed. There's definitely a little pile of patches that I need to go through for that, in addition to other things. So let's see what else is in the pile. I'm going to carry on for another 10 minutes or so, and then I'm gonna go make some muffins. Go and have a chill time for the rest of my birthday. But I just wanted to say hi, catch up with you all, and let you know what I'm going to be working on over the several months. Um, one of the things I have considered is like if the funding really dries up, I have some old Mac apps and iOS apps that I could bring up to date and publish again. That might take some time though, but it shouldn't take as much all that much time. You know, it's just updating the UI, and then most of the code, I believe, like the underlying code, should work the same. It's just updating all the UI. That's I've never used Swift UI, so that would be interesting to dive into. So if I get into that, I'll let you know. But you know, those usually don't make a lot because you know app and there's so many apps on the App Store, and discoverability is tricky. But uh, FretPad is one that I really like, and I keep an old laptop just to be able to run FretPad, which is my guitar fretboard sequencer chord reference thing. Um, and I just keep my old like 2012 laptop just to run that because it's you know it really has needed a lot of updates to keep up with the changes in Xcode and stuff. So it would be interesting to bring that up to date and have that out for you. But yeah, as I go along, I'll demo. I'll keep you abreast as to what's going on with that. Oh no, GitHub Desktop quit again. It really has a hard time with those tooltips that they implemented. I don't know why. Anyway, I can just bring up the regular GitHub Desktop, I suppose, and see what's going on with that. I don't know. I like using the dev version. You know, now I know where the bugs are. Okay, we're back. Okay, so quickly taking a look at the pull requests. Let's pick one that might fix things in fixed time motion. Let's see. Important there. Looking carefully. Refactor the resonance generator. That's good. The soft feed hold. Okay. I did that. Oh, it looks like is it failing? It can't be. Could be, I suppose. Oh, no, sometimes this page stops updating. Yeah, like it just did. So what did I probably created a typo? And you probably saw it, or I did. Let's see. Oh, frozen state. Go back to that. Trying to do that quickly so I don't trigger whatever that error is. You don't need to initialize them like this happens automatically. So it's kind of nice. You don't have to worry about what the type is. You just do that. But as long as I'm here, I can do this. Do that. It's similar. But I'll just do that. Implicate. Off you go. That's better. Okay. So let's see. Am I seeing any real fixed time motion fixes here? Definitely hoping for a specific patch for a very specific thing, but I think we did just fix it, but we saw some other stuff. There's somebody who's experiencing someone's experiencing an infinite loop on boot, I recall. And I had him turn off the watchdog so we could figure out what was going on. let's see, brief pause after 12 minutes. Yeah, that was the one we fixed. There was a problem with the the E coordinate, the deep inside the motion system wasn't being reset when it should be, and so that's now fixed. Because it would overflow and cause like attempts to move really fast, really far, and it wasn't good. Yeah, this is it, the boot loop. So the boot loop turns out to be related to this timer. Okay, yeah, that's what I was going to investigate. So I was already on this. I just really wanted to understand which of these instances in the code was the real culprit, because identified all the places in the code where it's even used. Now we just have to figure out which of these is the worst of the worst, and how do they compare. And I was just going to use Matt Godbolt's compiler explorer to do it, but then I realized, well, probably easier to just compile it, and then I can do some tests. I could do some static asserts or something like that with it. So that's what I'm going to do. I'll just add some static asserts, and then I'll do the build and with each of these uses and compare them and see what's different from one build to the next when I change the definition of HAL timer type max, whether it has the cast on it or not. Because what I noticed was that even though we're using 16-bit limits on certain counters, like some of those counters are still 32 bits in width. But the reason was that sometimes you pick a timer that only has a 16-bit width on it, so yeah, you can only count up to 65,000. And generally speaking, we don't run so slowly that that would overflow at any point. Like it's being reset to 0 each time the ISR hits, so it's not like it would overflow. But you start to worry when you're getting really, really, really fast processors. Like, did this timer overflow? And how fast are you running the timer also matters. So all of that comes down to resolution as well, of like how fast we can, not necessarily how fast you can print, but just when you do, like how accurate is the timing of those steps. Like higher the resolution, the more likely it is to be in the middle of where it's supposed to be, as opposed to off to one side, either lagging or leading. For you drummers out there, you know what I'm talking about. So yeah, it's going to be fun to mess with that. So yeah, I'm going to dive into this. It's very boring, so I won't bore you with it. I'm going to go make some muffins, get some energy, do some sit-ups, get my BMI down, and work on this. So yeah, anyway, I just wanted to spend a little time with you guys because you've been really awesome over the last decade. My God, and more. And I'm gonna be sticking with you. I'm gonna keep on this as long as I can. Not giving up. I'm not. I haven't burned out, honestly, and I haven't lost hope. Really, actually feeling just great. I love all this. The fact that we're back to RepRap spirit and that it's ours now. It belongs to us. I think it's really great to have it back in our own little hot hands. So yeah, let's keep this thing moving forward, and I'll keep playing with other code things that I can show off to you guys if I figure out neat things with LLMs in the project that make it even more possible to make advances faster and make things like our translations go faster. I'll be sharing with that. Yeah, I'll share everything that I got going on. So yeah. Anyway, thanks for stopping by, and love you all. See you soon. Check the links in the description, and be sure to subscribe and like and dislike whatever you like. Just don't be a stranger.